Hey everybody, it's Mom of Two, Wife of One, and welcome back to my channel. As you can see from the title below, we are here to talk about Married at First Sight, Season 14, Episode 4, I think. They're all running together at this point. They're really stretching this out, and we're finally done with the weddings, thankfully, but they like to really stretch it out for us. But before I go any further, make sure you guys subscribe to this channel, like this video, comment below, share it with your friends and your family, and click the notification bell so you don't miss any of the videos that I post. So again, for those of you who are not familiar with Married at First Sight, feel free to look at my recap and review from episode 1 where I talk about the show and what it's about. But let's jump right into it. So the weddings are finally over. All 5 of the couples are married. They've met their spouse. They've got to talk to them a little bit, talk to the family members, and all that great stuff. Last night's episode wasn't that exciting until the very end. And even at the end when it became kind of exciting, it was more of just, it was infuriating because it reminded me of so many other couples that we've seen before, but I'll get into that a little bit later. We'll start with some of the couples who didn't have a lot going on necessarily. So we'll start with Lindsay and Mark. They actually got married on episode 2, I believe, of the show. And it's really crazy because you forget the time sequence of all this, right? We saw Lindsay and Mark get married first. Then we saw the 2 black couples and then 2 couples last night. But all of this happens on the same day. But because we saw their marriage 2 weeks ago, we saw their wedding 2 weeks ago, we in our minds think, oh, they've been married now for a couple of weeks. Everybody got married on the same day. But because they draw it out, it makes it really difficult to remember the timing of everything. So keep that in mind. Everyone met their spouse on the same day and got married on the same day, I believe, pretty much at the same location, just at different times. So for Lindsay and Mark, one thing I did put is that his name is Mark the Shark. That's going to get old really fast. I'm so tired of hearing that. Yeah, well, in college they call me Mark the Shark. You're not in college anymore, sweetie. You're older now. I'm going to say you're old. He's 37. So college was almost 20 years ago. Like, just relax on that. But I feel like we're going to hear Mark the Shark every single episode, and it's going to get old really quick for me and probably for Lindsay. She is still very much outspoken and just the life of the party, and I'm sure she's still a little bit drunk as well. But he told her dad, he spoke to her dad and spoke to her brother about how he feels, they have a connection because they're both very high energy. He's like, but I'm really waiting to see the more low-key side of Lindsay, right? The kind of tamed down version of Lindsay. And I think that is important to note, that even someone like Mark, who has so much energy, he understands that, hey, there are layers to people and everybody can't be on 10 all the time. And I think, unfortunately, he's not going to see that tamed down version of her until they come back from the honeymoon and they settle into their regular life. Because if you think about it, they have the wedding day, which is drinking and being with your family. It's a lot of dancing. And then the next day you find out where you're going on your honeymoon. And of course, the honeymoon is going to be nonstop action-packed stuff. So once they come back home and they get back into the routine of working and dealing with family stuff and then merging all 5 of their cats together, I think that's when he's going to see a different side to her. And I'm sure she has a different side, but one thing he did pick up on and talk to her about it, he's like, I can tell that you have some walls up. I can tell you have layers, but I can tell that you are a type of person who does not allow people to see those different layers of yourself until you're comfortable with that person. So I promise that I'm going to be there for you. I'm not going anywhere. I'm in this for the long haul. So at some point, I want you to be comfortable enough with exposing the different parts of yourself. So I like that Mark is very open and honest with her. He's the person that tried to get on the show 4 years ago when they were in Boston, but he just wasn't selected. And I believe him. I really feel like Mark is very genuine in his actions. He's very sincere in his intentions when it comes to being a husband to her. And I think that Lindsay is picking up on that already as well. She's definitely a lot, even just to watch on screen. Whenever they show them on screen, I don't roll my eyes, but I'm just like, because I feel like it just takes it's so much to take in when she's on screen. Because again, she's still drunk. So at one point she was talking about how she wasn't going to have sex with him on the wedding night. So she's talking to a group of girls. I'm thinking she's talking to her girlfriends like, girl, I'm not going to have sex the first night because, it's just too soon and blah, blah, blah. But she was talking to his friends. And I feel like, okay, on one hand, you feel comfortable with his friends and with his family. That's good. But on the other hand, you're just meeting them that day. So you don't necessarily know them well enough to talk about stuff like that. I thought that was just really weird and just kind of awkward to be so open and honest and talking again about sex with your new groom's friends who, again, you just met the same day as your groom. I thought that was a little off-putting, but probably for them, they're like, oh my gosh, Lindsay's just so great and she's down to earth and what you see is what you get and blah, blah, blah. And I like that Mark talked to the dad and the brother, his new father-in-law, new brother-in-law, and he was like, I can tell she's kind, I can tell she has a good heart. And her father advised Mark to let Lindsay know that he has her back and basically warns him that, hey, when Lindsay's done with you, she's done. So make sure she knows that you have her back, that you have her best interest at heart, and that you're going to do whatever you can to protect her and love her. So that was pretty much all for them. They weren't that exciting, but, you know, we'll see what happens with them. I feel like it's going to be very clear that some of the issues that'll pop up, if she's not able to let some of those walls down and let him in, if she's not able to show some of those different sides of herself, and with them 5 stinking cats, if those 5 cats don't get along, there's going to be big problems there. So we'll see. We will see what happens in the future with them. Olajuwon and Katina. Katina is very pretty. Olajuwon has an amazing body, and he's very attractive. They seem to be very comfortable with each other already, even in taking pictures with each other. They were kissing each other a lot. She seems to be pretty down for whatever. Like, she talked a lot about being loyal and being ready to be a wife and I got your back and all this other stuff. And I feel like she's kind of going with the flow and really kind of going with the pace that he's setting. He seems very excited and just ready and raring to go. It is interesting, though, that all the couples talked with their friends and their family later at the wedding about whether or not they were going to have sex on the wedding night. She was very adamant to her friends, like, oh, no, we're not having sex the wedding night. Like, I probably won't be comfortable to have sex until like a month in. He's the same one that when he first met all the grooms, before they had the bachelor party, before they got married, he told all the other grooms that, you know, my wild days, you know, are behind me. And I really, you know, pushed the physical angle a lot. So now I want to do things completely different. I'm not trying to have sex for a while. Like, I really want to get to know my wife. I'm really serious about this. Soon as he sees her, though, soon as he gets some liquor up in him, he's talking to his boys like, man, I'm gonna rock her world. If she gives me the go ahead, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna do this. It's like, oh, how your opinion has changed. And even when it comes to cooking, it talks about cooking. He's the same one who is very adamant that my woman needs to cook for me and she needs to know how to cook. Is very important. So they had that discussion and she told him, I know how to cook. It's not amazing. It's nothing fancy, but I do know how to do some stuff. And he said he knows how to cook too. So at least now he's in the mindset of, okay, we're going to learn together. We're going to figure this out. We'll make sure we both eat. We're going to be good. Because before he was adamant, like, yo, if she can't cook, that's it. And I think if he wasn't as attracted to her as he is, he definitely wouldn't be so accommodating. So I guess fortunately for him, he has a woman, or has a wife rather, that is very beautiful, because he has definitely changed his tune on a couple things after seeing her and being around her. Now, it's interesting, though, that she said, you know, she can feel that he's kind. She can tell he has a lot of energy, obviously, but she can feel that he's kind. Obviously, all she has to go on is the stuff that he's saying to her. So she feels that he's being genuine, that he's, you know, in this for the right reasons and all that stuff. And he's kind of getting the same from her. But I feel like he isn't taking enough time to get to know deeper things about her. And granted, it's only the first day, and I have to keep reminding myself of that. This is only the first day of marriage, right? But when he sits down and talks to her mother to kind of introduce himself and, you know, talk to her a little bit more, most of the time when they do this, it's because the parents or the friends want to kind of grill you about, okay, what kind of person are you? What kind of husband or wife do you plan to be? But that's also, in Olajuwon's case, him talking to her mother, that is his chance to find out more about Katina, find out what makes her tick, find out any snippets from her mom. Like, you know, can you give me some advice on how to treat her, how to talk to her when she's upset, how to help her through this, or what not to do? That was the perfect time to really get some insight into his wife, and he completely missed that opportunity. And I will say, the editors of this show, through the seasons, have gotten shadier and shadier in the way they edit this daggone show. When he talked to the mom, it started like this rectangle screen, just him and the mom talking, but he talked so much for so long about himself that eventually the editors were taking like snapshots almost of him talking and placing them around the screen. So at one point you just saw like 15, 16 snapshots of Olajuwon just running his mouth to the mom. And I was like, they're just the shadiest people ever. I would love for someone to sit down with the editors of this show and just talk to them about how they craft things, because it's so awful sometimes. But I don't know. I still don't know necessarily what will happen with them. I'm still not getting the best vibe from Olajuwon. I feel like he's almost like a very excited puppy. Like everything's just brand new and fresh and da-da-da. And I'm not going to say he doesn't want to be married. Like I definitely can't, I'm not in his head, so I'm not going to say that. I just still don't think he's necessarily ready for all that it entails. And Katina may not be either, for that matter. But we will see. Let me see what else. They talked about when they want to have kids. They both want to wait 2 or 3 years. They both want to travel, so that's something they have in common. And I mean, that was pretty much it. There was really nothing exciting that happened. His friends warned her to be patient, and I think just in talking to him for 5 minutes, you can tell she's going to have to be patient. He told her mother that he has ADHD. He said he has it under control, so I guess that means he takes medication for it. But, I've never having been around someone who has ADHD, let alone being married to someone who has it, I can imagine that takes a great deal of patience. So I'm sure there's something she'll learn along the way anyway. But yeah, I mean, the episode was just fun. They had their little wedding night. They looked fine. I mean, like I said, nothing really exciting happened. I wanted to start the couples who got married last night. I want to save them for last. So we'll go to Michael and Jasmina. I like them together. I think out of all of the couples, they are one of my favorite couples because I feel like they're both very genuine. They both seem to like each other. It's not necessarily, I feel like Michael's probably more attracted to Jasmina than she is to him. But I feel like that attraction, there's definitely room for that to grow. She didn't say that she wasn't attracted to him. She said there was a little spark there. And I think in learning to know him better, and also in learning to know his family better, that's really going to make her attraction grow and her connection to him grow. His sisters, he's the one that comes from a really big family. He has 3 or 4 older sisters. So his sisters told her to be patient with him and to embrace him. And Michael said that he can feel Jasmina is compassionate and he's excited to learn more about her and kind of go into her world. I really like that we're able to see a balance of them both being serious, but them both being really silly and goofy as well. And I think that in their original packages before they met each other, they both kind of came off very serious, very straight-laced. And yes, you should be serious about marriage, but, your personality needs to come through as well on those packages. And I feel like we didn't really get to see the silly, goofy side from either of them. So to see them together now and see that they're comfortable enough to be silly around each other is really refreshing, and I like that. And then all of Michael's family, they had these pink breast cancer pins in honor of his mom. So I love that the sisters gave her a pin. They're like, you're in the family now. So we want to make sure that you have this pin that represents our mother. And just like our mother's watching over Michael, she's now watching over you. And I was like, that is the sweetest thing. I really, really love his family. I absolutely adore his sisters. I love how supportive they are, how just overly welcoming they are with Jasmina. Because truthfully, that's not always the case with Black women, especially Black women when you're the older sister of a brother. Because I only have one brother and I am very protective of him. And granted, he's a grown man. He's 37 years old, completely handles himself. He's a great judge of character and all that stuff. But I know for me, if he did this process, I can guarantee you I would not immediately be like, oh girl, you're my family. You gotta win me over. I gotta warm up to you. I gotta make sure you are here for the right reason. Make sure you're treating my little brother right. I know I'm that kind of person. I am fiercely loyal and protective and all of that stuff. So the fact that they are just willingly opening their arms and their hearts to this woman, I think is really beautiful. Not really my personality, but I like it. It's still very heartwarming. There was a really, really sweet moment in the episode last night. I love that this is just, again, the Black girl in me. I love that she's comfortable wrapping her hair, not only in front of this person that she just got married to, who's a stranger still, but also just on camera, because she's keeping it real like, hey, I'm a sister. I got my head wrap on, makeup off, and it was a beautiful thing to watch. I was like, yes, sis, you gotta go ahead and show them that. Yes. So I always get excited because I feel like even though we've had Black couples on the show before, we haven't always seen that. So for the past few seasons, we're finally seeing men wearing do-rags and the Black women wrapping their hair. But it hadn't happened really in the first few seasons of Married at First Sight. So I love that they're getting comfortable enough with just being themselves. That really just warms my heart. It does something to me. So that's pretty much all I have with them. I do like them together. It was funny because her father said, you know, you should be vulnerable with Jasmina, but we don't want a weak man in the family. I was like, I know that's right. So we'll see what happens with them, but I do like them. We're going to save Alyssa and Chris for last because they just, again, the editors were shady and it was a lot. But Noi and Steve, I like them a lot. I don't think I realized how funny Steve is. And Noi, I could already tell she had a goofy side. So I really like I like how comfortable they are with each other. I really enjoy them together, and I love watching them laugh together and talk together. I really like that. I love that she incorporated her culture into the wedding. That was really sweet. My main concern with Steve is that they keep painting him as this adventurous person, this free spirit, which is not a bad thing. But my fear is that marriage for him is just like a spur of the moment kind of thing, like, oh, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get married. And once that thrill is gone of it not being a new thing anymore, not feeling like an adventure anymore, then he's going to get bored and leave. So that's one of the concerns I have. I was saying I like when couples are able to laugh at the altar. They seem to laugh at the altar. One thing I will say with Noi is that I can tell very early on that she wears her emotions on her sleeve. Because her face, I know I have difficulty with my facial expressions. Her face is going to betray her every time. So I'm hoping that Steve will pay a lot of attention to that. I'm hoping, though, that in addition to her not being able to hide her face, that she will open her mouth and tell him directly when she's upset, when something doesn't agree with her. And, you know, hopefully she's open and honest about how she feels. Because one thing that worries me when people are so gung-ho about getting married, or they've been dreaming about this for a long time, is that they will do anything to keep it going, even if that means denying their own needs or keeping their mouth shut when they should be speaking up. So again, we'll see what happens. I put that Steve has a very nice sense of humor. She thinks he's funny and sweet. They find each other very attractive, which is beautiful and amazing. And he told her about him not having a job, and she didn't necessarily seem excited about it, but she was like, okay, well, she was like, I'm not worried because I get the impression that it's temporary. Now, one thing I will say is that in him telling her this story, he said, you know, I had a job, I got laid off, so I went on this 4-month road trip and it was amazing and blah, 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 blah. Nowhere in the explanation did I hear him say, but I'm looking for a job, or I have interviews lined up, or I plan to be employed by this date. Like, I didn't hear any of that, and maybe I missed it and you guys caught it. And if you did, please tell me below. But it's like, if I hear that you got laid off, coming as a person, me personally, I've been laid off 3 times. So I know that it happens. I get it. That's fine. But what I need to hear from you is, what are your next steps? And again, I feel like his mind is very spur of the moment. It's like, oh, I'm laid off. I'm got nothing else to do. Let me go on a 4-month road trip. Let me just go away for a while. Like, I need plans. I need to know that you're thinking about the future. I need to know that you understand, okay, I am married. Let me figure out what my life is going to look like now that I'm a husband. Even though she may not be asking you to provide for her necessarily, provide for the household, you still need to have a plan in place. So I still need to hear from you that you're going on interviews, or that you plan to have a job at this point or something. And I personally didn't hear that. So that would kind of bother me a little bit. Another thing I thought was really weird. So again, a lot of them were talking about having sex the first night. Not with each other, of course, because why do that, even though that makes sense? They're talking about that with other people. He got confronted about that from her brother, who was like, oh, so what do you think's going to happen tonight? And Steve's like, oh, well, I'm not looking for sex. I'm still trying to get to know your sister. And, you know, I just want to talk. I feel like tonight we're just going to talk, and we'll wake up in the morning. We'll just talk some more. He's like, oh, so what's going to happen before you wake up? Like, he was really trying to dig at him to see if he was going to sleep with his sister. And I was like, that's such a weird thing for a brother to ask about your sister. Why are you doing that? I thought that was really strange. That was very, very weird, especially because he looks like a little brother as well. dude, they ain't none of your business. And Steve was better than me because I'm like, you know what? I don't think it's appropriate for us to talk about this. I feel like that's a conversation I need to have with your sister. That's what Steve should have said. He shouldn't even entertain the conversation. But I thought that was really weird and uncomfortable. We're going to go to Alyssa and Chris. So let me start by saying Alyssa reminds me of a couple brides that we've already had on the show. Brides who come in with a very clear idea of what they want physically, what kind of husband they're looking for, and they're not focused on what kind of marriage they want. They're not focused on building a life with someone. They're focused on having this perfect person that they've crafted in their mind fit neatly into their life. It's like their life is a big jigsaw puzzle, and they left the empty spot for that husband. That spot has already been crafted. It's already the perfect size. They're looking for that husband that fits that perfect size, that can just go right into that puzzle piece and complete their life. That is not what marriage is about. She is the person who bought 10 wedding dresses before she went wedding dress shopping on the show. And that alone, and it was funny because I told my husband early on that, I don't think I like her. And when I mentioned that one, that was the first thing I told him. Like, yeah, she bought 10 wedding dresses. He's like, oh, absolutely not. He's like, she's all right. She already on my list. I don't like that either. I was like, see? Because that's indicative of a lot of things. Yes, your wedding dress is important. Yes, you have every right to wear exactly what you want to wear. Wedding dresses are not cheap, right? They can range anywhere from $500 to $15,000 and probably a little bit more. And then also, they tell you, hey, we found you a husband, you're getting married in 2 weeks. That's only 14 days. And it hasn't been clear if those 10 wedding dresses were bought within those 14 days or bought before those 14 days. Either way, how do you have the time and money to do all of that, A? And B, that's also giving me the impression that it is more important to you to look good on your wedding day than to build on this marriage. And a lot of people are like that, unfortunately, that they put so much emphasis on this wedding day being amazing with the right flowers and the right dress and the right tux and the right venue and the beautiful pictures or the videographer and the cake and then this and this and this. And they don't put nearly as much effort into the marriage itself. So she's already given me that impression. So it's like, not really feeling her. This is where the shady editors come in. When her friends were talking to her about, so, what are you looking for? What are you excited about? What are you thinking? And she's like, I'm just hoping he's, handsome, because physical attraction is so important. And granted, I'm not going to act like physical attraction is not important. I don't want to give you guys that impression. Yes, it absolutely is important when you are in a relationship. I completely get that. But obviously, it's not the only thing. And also, physical attraction can grow the more you get to know a person. Like, it absolutely can. But because she's only focused on that stuff, like she's not saying, I hope he's really kind, or I hope he's really nice, I hope he's funny. She's only focused on the physical characteristics. And in her mind, she's already decided if the physical stuff is not there, then it's not going to work out. And the problem with that is that there have been people in the past on the show who have maybe not been initially attracted to their spouse, but in getting to know them and figuring out why they were matched with this person in the first place and seeing their heart and seeing their character, that physical attraction has grown. And it can grow and the marriage can work, but you have to be in the mindset that no matter what this person looks like, I'm going to figure out why we're matched together and I'm going to figure out a way to make this work. She's not of that mindset. Because again, she has her idea of that perfect puzzle piece, and in her mind, that looks a certain way. So in my head, that means you are a very controlling person, and I can be very controlling as well, so I can appreciate that in other people. But if you are that controlling and you're that particular and that specific and picky, why would you sign up for a show where you don't have control over who you're getting married to? That doesn't make any sense. Especially if you know that about yourself. You're 30 years old. You know that you're controlling and you're picky. Why would you allow some experts to pick somebody for you when you don't get to vet them ahead of time? Because you're signing up for the show with the understanding that you may not get what you've always looked for or what you've always attracted. You have to have that in the forefront of your mind. And again, she's not focused on that. So it's already kind of turned off with the whole 10 wedding dresses thing, then turned off by the conversation with her friends about how, that's all we're focused on. Also, they're all sitting around like, can you believe like none of us are married? Like, I just don't understand. And, they say birds of a feather flock together. I think the fact that none of you are married, that gives me the impression that all your girlfriends are kind of like you. They're also kind of controlling, also just focused on looks, also just focused on the wrong thing, basically. That's my 2 cents. So, and another thing. Okay, so she said that she hopes it's going to work. That's all she said. She's like, well, I just hope that this will work. As opposed to, what I think she should have said was, I will work to make it work. Right? And I think that's a bar right there, right? Hoping it'll work out feels like this is a magic spell. Like, oh, I just hope that when I'm here and he's here, then poof, we'll be in love and we'll be happy. No. You can hope that the marriage works, but you have to be ready and willing and able to put the work in to make it work. It's not that you just show up and you just hope that this is successful. You actually have to do something. And again, this is all before she went down the aisle. So I was already kind of irritated with this chick. Like, girl, you're not even pretending like you're going to try to do anything. So, no, I'm doing a video. I got to go back. Okay, thank you. Sorry for the interruption. But yeah, so I was just like, and then he gave her a wedding gift. I didn't see what it was. I guess he wrote a nice, sweet letter with the gift, which I thought was interesting because in past seasons, most of the time, the grooms and the brides normally gift each other something before they walk down the aisle. He was the only groom that did it this season. And his letter was really, really sweet, and it made her tear up. And I was saying, or I wrote down in my notes, that I hope that she will keep that in mind, that this is a person who is intentional and who was romantic, that he took the time to write me this nice letter and give me this nice gift. So I'm hoping that no matter what happens later on, again, this was before the wedding, I hope that no matter what happened later on, she would keep that in the forefront of her mind that, okay, I may not be initially attracted to him, but he is very romantic and he's sweet. So at least I know 2 things about him that I do like. Let me stick to those 2 things and find out what else there is about him that I'm going to like. Of course, it went right out the window when she walked down the aisle. And when I said the editors are awful, she kept talking about like, oh, well, I really hope that he has really nice teeth because, I take care of my teeth and I can't, if he has snaggletooth, I'm going to be upset. And what did the editors do? They show Chris standing at the altar and they zoom in on his teeth. I was like, y'all are shady boots. And it sucks because the show wasn't set out to be this when it first started. And now they shoot it sometimes it is a reality show, but they shoot it sometimes like as a Real Housewives thing. Like they're looking for the drama and they're looking to boost up the drama because they know that these events happened technically months ago. The people who are on the show are watching it in real time with us. They didn't get to see a pre-edited version. Like they're seeing it now. So poor Chris is at home without Alyssa watching the editor zoom in on his teeth. And I was like, that's messed up. That's really messed up. And I didn't appreciate that at all, honestly. I put that she will wreck his self-esteem if he lets her because again, she's too focused on his looks. And I asked the question, will she give it a chance to see if it can work? And I don't know if she will. I think that that's the whole point of the show is to get out of your comfort zone, be exposed to something you maybe have not been exposed to before, and see if it can work out. Actually put in the work. And I don't know. And also, when she got up to the altar to meet him, her body language spoke volumes. There was a big space in between them. She barely looked him in the eye. She looked kind of uncomfortable. She was looking elsewhere. And he was just like, oh my gosh, she's beautiful. She's gorgeous. He was like a little puppy. And I felt so bad for him because I could tell how excited he was. I could tell he thought things were going so well. But in her mind, it was a completely different story. She vowed to be honest and direct, which are very strong words. There's nothing wrong with that. In a marriage, you do have to be honest and direct, but you have to do it with love. And it is hard to do that when you're first meeting somebody. Obviously, the love is not there. And if you're used to just she's like Lindsay, if you're used to just kind of saying whatever's on your mind and that's it, you have to learn to craft that in a more sensitive way for your spouse, because you don't know how your spouse is going to receive you, because there's not like it's an old friend who's used to the way you are. This spouse is just meeting you. They're getting to know you. So they may not understand how brash you can be. So you have to learn to kind of craft that for them. And, nobody learns that right away. So we'll see what happens. Let's see. I definitely didn't expect her to let him kiss her at the altar. I thought that she was going to give him the cheeks. I was like, oh, they kissed. Okay. Only time they kissed the whole day, but that's another story. I thought that she was very standoffish at the altar, and also when they came down the aisle and they're like drinking champagne and talking. I thought she was very standoffish, but she was trying to get to know him. She was talking to him. So I was like, okay, that's kind of exciting. She said, I think it was before she knew what he did for a living. Somebody asked her, producers asked her off screen, what do you think? It's like, I think he looks like a real estate agent. What the freak does that mean? I don't know what that means at all. She's not a touchy-feely person, or at least her friends basically said that she's not a cuddler. She has to kind of build up to that. He's very affectionate, which means he's going to have to be patient with her, which I get. I put, he's so optimistic, and I hope he doesn't lose himself in trying to please her. This has been my fear about Chris from the very beginning. When they showed him shopping for a tux, he said, if my wife does not like me, I know that that's a sign that I need to change and grow. That is not what that means. That's automatically believing what she's saying about you, automatically believing it's your fault, and automatically believing that you need to change. Sometimes your wife needs to change her ways and the way she views things too. So the fact that that didn't even cross his mind, he's immediately like, yo, to make this marriage work, I got to make sure I change whatever I need to change so that my wife likes me. No, baby. And that reminded me a lot of Miles, from Karen and Miles from season, 10 maybe, 10 or 11. Miles was so consumed with making sure Karen was comfortable, making sure she was okay, making sure she felt protected and loved and all that stuff, that he denied his own needs, and he never vocalized his needs to her because he was so focused on her. And Pastor Cal had to bring that to his attention that, hey, yes, Karen should feel comfortable. She should feel loved. That is very important. However, Karen is not in this marriage by herself. As the husband, you also have the right to feel comfortable and to feel loved. So let her know what your needs are so that she can do for you what you're doing for her. And that's very, very important. And I feel like Chris, he's not giving me good indication that he's going to be able to really vocalize his own needs and vocalize his frustration with her. So not really looking forward to that. Her mom told Chris that Alyssa's very stubborn, but she has a big heart. I thought it was funny that he asked the mom, what should I do if she has a bad day? She was like, give her space and don't say nothing to her. It'll be really bad for you if you do. Just leave her alone, let her vent if she needs to, and then just walk away. It's like, oh, so basically she's I don't curse, but she sounds like she's a B. I was like, okay. And okay, so this is where things get a little rocky. She talked to his friends, and they told her that Chris likes to teach. He's a natural teacher. So sometimes when he's trying to teach people stuff, it can come off like he is being condescending, and can come off condescending. And she's like, oh, that's a turnoff for me. So, and the thing is, it was weird because the things that they told her didn't sound like they were bigging him up. It sounded like they were warning her of stuff. And it's like, y'all supposed to be his friends. Why aren't y'all telling her all of the good things about him and how he's this great guy and he's really sweet and he's really this and that? Like, I feel like they didn't give any good things about him to tell her. So I thought that was really strange. And I didn't think that was the place of the friends to be so negative. And yeah, I thought that was weird. And then, so this is how it all spiraled, right? Everybody else, all the other couples, went to their hotel suite, saw the rose petals on the bed, champagne. They're laughing and talking. They're giggling. They're taking, their tuxes off and their wedding dresses off, and they're getting ready for bed, and it's all good. Then we see Chris, who's in a hallway of some sort in the lobby of the hotel, sitting on a chair, and he's talking to the cameraman like, hey, guys, this is awkward or whatever. We don't see Alyssa. Alyssa is in a room with the producers, basically saying, what his friends told me, made me uncomfortable. It, is a turnoff for me. And, anything I ask for physically, he doesn't meet any of those things. And I'm uncomfortable sharing a room with him. And she just sounded like a brat. And she came out because the producer, she was like, what do I do? What do I tell him? The producer was like, you need to tell him something because right now he doesn't know anything. He's just sitting out there basically looking dumb. So she goes out there and she doesn't really say much. She just says, I heard some things that don't sit well with me and they were very disturbing. That's all she says. Most people would hear that and the first thing out of their mouth would be like, well, wait a minute, what did you hear? Do you want to ask me a question? Do I need to clear something up for you? What exactly were you told? That would be what people would ask. Chris's immediate thing was to apologize. And again, he's going to be that person that's like, oh, you're upset. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I said something. He immediately assumed it was something he said. Like, she didn't talk to other people at the wedding. He assumed that it was him. Took it upon himself immediately. It's my fault. I'm sorry you feel that way. Do you want to ask me something? What can I do to make you feel better? And I was like, Chris, no, ask her, especially because in her vows and in what her family said about her, what everybody said about her, everybody said that she's honest and direct. So make her be honest and direct and talk to you and tell you exactly what is going on. She left you out in the hallway for who knows how many minutes. And now she comes back and she still isn't really opening up and saying anything to you. I'm like, no, you told me you're honest and direct. I appreciate it. I have thick skin. Tell me exactly what you heard. And then I can tell you if it's true or I can better explain myself. But right now, she didn't even give him a chance to really explain anything. She's already labeling him as whatever and not giving him a chance to really defend himself, which I thought was really weird and selfish and just immature. And that's basically how they ended it. I don't know if they went to separate rooms or not, but they basically just ended it by going to bed. I just thought it was unfair to Chris. Chris made me upset by him not asking more questions and him forcing her to have a conversation about it. Didn't like that at all. I still don't think they're going to make it. I think Alyssa seems like she's really spoiled. Seems like she's not in this for the right reasons. She's not going to give Chris a solid chance. I think she's going to have her walls up and not really give him a chance to get to know her. I don't really see anything good happening for that couple personally. So that's the recap. My favorite couples right now are Noy and Steve and Jasmina and Michael. I really like them. I like Katina. Olajuwon I don't hate as a person. I just still don't think he's ready to be a husband. I think for Lindsay and Mark, I think once they get back from the honeymoon, we'll be able to see different sides of them, different sides, especially of Lindsay, but I think they could potentially work. So we'll see what happens, but I will see you guys here next week to go over episode 5. Hope you guys enjoyed the review and recap. Again, comment below so we can talk about these couples, all right? I'll see you guys next week as soon as I can close the video out. Peace.